It was a quiet Thursday evening at the Blue Harbor, a cozy seaside restaurant known for its breathtaking views and delicious seafood dishes. The restaurant, tucked away at the edge of a small coastal town, had always been a favorite for tourists and locals alike. With its whitewashed walls, rustic decor, and the sound of gentle waves crashing just beyond the patio, it was the perfect place for a peaceful evening out. The soft hum of conversation and the clinking of glasses filled the air as diners sat at their tables, enjoying their meals and the picturesque view. At one of the tables by the window sat Martin Thompson, a well-dressed man in his early 40s, who had just come off a long day of business meetings. He was a regular at the Blue Harbor, one of the many high-end restaurants he frequented during his business trips. Martin had always been a demanding customer, often expecting the best service and the finest meals, but tonight something felt different. As he settled into his seat, he noticed the waitress who was assigned to his table. She was young, maybe in her early 20s, with a soft smile and an air of calm about her. Her name tag read Emily. She seemed pleasant enough, but Martin's initial impression was that she didn't seem particularly eager or attentive. As he placed his drink order, she barely made eye contact, which wasn't unusual, but it caught him off guard nonetheless. Emily didn't seem to rush over with the same enthusiasm he was accustomed to seeing from the staff at high-end establishments. She took his order without much conversation, and when she returned with his drink, she didn't even offer to refill it when the glass started to empty. Instead, she walked past his table multiple times, glancing at him, but never once stopping to check if he needed anything. As the evening wore on, Martin's frustration grew. He had never been ignored like this in a restaurant, especially not in a place with such a reputation. Most wait staff knew to cater to his every need, but Emily seemed completely indifferent. He was about to ask for a manager when something in her behavior stopped him. There was a subtle, almost deliberate avoidance in her actions. She wasn't being rude. She was just distant. But what happened next would change everything. When Emily finally came back to check on his meal, Martin couldn't hold back any longer. "Excuse me," he said, his voice tinged with irritation. "I've been sitting here for almost an hour, and I've hardly seen you. Is there a problem?" Emily looked at him with a blank expression for a moment before nodding gently. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm just trying to keep up with all the tables tonight. But I'll make sure you're taken care of," she said softly. There was something in her voice that hinted at something more, an unspoken layer of tension or sadness that Martin couldn't quite place. He was about to respond when Emily quickly turned to leave, and that's when it happened. As she walked away, Martin noticed something that caught his attention, a glimmer of recognition. There, in her eyes, was a familiar spark. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but something in her face reminded him of someone from his past. His mind raced as he thought back to the last time he had seen someone with that same look. A look that wasn't just a look of service, but one of resilience. He suddenly recalled a story he had read in the local paper years ago. A story about a young girl who had been the victim of a brutal car accident, leaving her with lifelong scars. It had happened right here in the town. The girl had been hit by a drunk driver, and the accident had left her physically and emotionally scarred. She had been a local high school student, a quiet girl who had once dreamed of becoming a doctor. But after the accident, her life had changed in ways she never could have imagined. As the memory resurfaced, Martin felt a strange chill run down his spine. Could this be the same girl? Could Emily be the one who had been through so much? Unable to ignore the growing suspicion in his gut, Martin called Emily over once again. This time, when she came to his table, he took a careful look at her. The same quiet resilience he had read about in the article seemed to emanate from her, but now it was paired with something else, a sense of caution, almost as if she were hiding something. "Emily, I need to ask you something," Martin began, his voice gentler than before. "I've been coming here for years, and I don't normally like to make assumptions, but there's something about you." Emily's face tightened ever so slightly, her eyes flickering with a mixture of apprehension and confusion. She swallowed hard, clearly not expecting the question. "What do you mean, sir?" she asked, her voice betraying a hint of uncertainty. Are you the girl from the accident years ago? The one in the local news?" Martin asked cautiously, knowing how delicate the subject was. Emily's eyes widened in shock, and for a moment Martin could have sworn he saw her take a step back. She quickly composed herself, taking a deep breath before meeting his gaze. "Yes," she whispered. "I was in that accident. But why do you remember that?" Martin felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He had seen her face in the paper, but he hadn't expected to meet her, let alone learn that she was working right in front of him. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I didn't mean to bring up painful memories, but I just recognized something in you, and now I understand why you seem so familiar." Emily nodded slowly, but the tension in her shoulders didn't ease. "It's okay," she said, though her voice carried a sadness that was hard to ignore. "It's been a long time. I've learned to keep moving forward, to do my best to live a normal life." Martin could hardly believe the resilience she had displayed. From the car accident that had nearly taken her life to now, working at this very restaurant, enduring the pain and challenges, she had come out stronger than anyone could have imagined. As the conversation continued, Martin learned that Emily had fought hard to rebuild her life after the accident. After countless surgeries and long, difficult recovery periods, she had gone on to earn a college degree and had moved back to the town where it all happened. She had taken a job at the Blue Harbor not because she had to, but because it was a way for her to connect with the people around her, to prove to herself that she was more than just the victim of a tragic accident. Martin, deeply moved by her story, realized how wrong he had been to judge her based on a moment of frustration. He had only seen a waitress in front of him, but now he saw something far more significant. Someone who had triumphed over immense adversity. As they parted ways that night, Martin left the restaurant with a new perspective. He no longer saw the world the same way. The next day, he reached out to Emily, offering her a job in his company, not as a charity, but as a true opportunity. He recognized her strength and resilience, and he wanted to offer her a chance to shine in the business world, just as she had in life. The story of Emily, the waitress, spread quickly through the town, and soon people came to see her not just as the girl who had survived a devastating accident, but as an inspiration. Her courage, grace, and strength became a beacon for everyone who heard her story. As for Martin, he had learned an invaluable lesson. Never judge someone by a moment of frustration or misunderstanding. Behind every face is a story waiting to be heard, a life filled with experiences, struggles, and triumphs. And sometimes, the most unexpected people turn out to be the most extraordinary. If Emily's story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories of resilience, redemption, and the strength to overcome the impossible. Everyone has a story, and sometimes All it takes is the right moment to reveal the truth.